Hello friends and welcome back. Today we are doing the third part in this Triple Goddess series. I really hope that you guys have enjoyed this series. If you haven't seen the other videos, the first two, which talk about the Maiden and the Mother, I will have those linked both in the description box, and I'll try and remember to put a card up here, or is it up here? I don't know. Somewhere on the screen for you so that you can watch those. You don't need to watch them in any particular order. It just provides different insights to different aspects of your goddess. So today's pick a card is the Crone. We are using a combination of tarot and oracle cards to get this message from the Crone version of yourself. So if you're unfamiliar with the Triple Goddess symbol, this is what it looks like. I have actually started a Redbubble shop where you can go and purchase this sticker. This is the original painting, but you can purchase the sticker now. I'm so excited to be able to offer this for you, but this is what the Triple Goddess symbol looks like. So the Crone is represented by the waning moon and is associated with autumn and winter as well as sunset. The Crone is often seen as a wise elder, someone who is full of knowledge, someone who has lived their life to the fullest potential and has all this wisdom to share. It also can be associated with the old soul. So there are some children who, well, any age group, who are considered old souls, and it's like they have wisdom beyond their years. That is also kind of a representation of the Crone in a younger person. The Crone is often associated with endings, with rebirth, and also sometimes with death because of its association with age. Now the Crone is typically thought to be after a woman reaches menopause, but again, because of the associations with knowledge and wisdom, and especially sharing that wisdom, and the connection with being an old soul, you don't have to be postmenopausal to be a Crone. Just like you don't actually have biological children to have motherly energy or maternal energy. And all throughout our lives we can still exist in the maiden energy. We are all summed up together as all three of these aspects. We have the Triple Goddess within us. So I do want to take a brief moment to talk about the cards that I picked. So I picked the Wildwood Tarot for the tarot cards of this deck because I do feel like this deck, at least in my experience working with it, provides a lot of in-depth information. It's very intuitive for me to read, which I think helps come with a lot of knowledge. I feel like these cards have a very deep meaning to me. So that's why I picked these. I also picked the Magical Herb Oracle, and I picked this deck because I always think of the Crone stylistically as kind of an old hedge witch, working in her garden around her property, offering medicinal herbs to people to help with whatever they need help with, and so that's kind of why I picked that deck. And then the last deck that I picked is the Magick of You Oracle, and I picked this deck because so often, so it says unlock your hidden truths, and so often women don't begin to feel comfortable with who they are. They don't begin to feel comfortable in their body, in their physical presence, in their spirituality until later on in life. And that comfort, that realization of who you are can be attained at any stage of your life. The magic is within you. The truth of who you are is within you. So I kind of picked that as a way to hopefully help you unlock, because there are keys on the back of the deck, unlock some hidden truth about yourself no matter what your age. And then of course we are also using the Moonology deck, which I will be shuffling at the end of each pile. So let's get started. So here are your three piles. I picked three piles because of the symbolism with the Triple Goddess, with the Maiden, the Mother, and the Crone, life, birth, birth, life, and death. And so here are your 3 piles. We have pile 1, pile 2, and pile 3. And then again, I will be using my Moonology cards in a little bit. So use your intuition to pick the pile that is calling to you, and let's get started with pile 1. Hello to all of you who picked pile number 1. We are going to start with your tarot cards. So you have the Page of Arrows, which is the Wren, the 6 of Vessels, which is Reunion, and the Pole Star. So these 3 cards together are really making me think of a transition within yourself. It's almost like you're going to be embracing this Crone energy, and the Crone really wants you to embrace this energy. We have the Page of Arrows, which is the red, and this card really speaks of transitions. It's going from the winter into the spring. Now, if we go back to the beginning, the Crone was associated with winter, and the Maiden was associated with spring. So it's like it's changing from the perspective of having to be the Crone at a certain phase, or having to be a Maiden at a certain phase. Here we have this Wren existing in the transition between 2 phases, and it's interesting because it's kind of going backwards, right? Like it would be like a rebirth symbolism in terms of going from winter, which is the Crone, into spring and the Maiden. So it's a rebirth of this youthful energy. And with the Pole Star and the 6 of Vessels flanking this card, I feel like it is the reunion is within yourself. It's reuniting and connecting with the aspects of yourself that you may have been suppressing or you may have been hiding from other people. It's about becoming confident in who you are so that you can share this aspect and you can share those dreams with the world. So again, it's the rebirth. It's instead of hiding that wisdom, instead of hiding those desires, you're connecting more with the Maiden energy and being really excited and feeling rejuvenated towards sharing this side of you. So it's almost like the Crone is saying, you've existed in the Crone phase, you've existed in a wisdom phase, connecting with yourself, and now it's time to move forward, move back into Maiden energy, and be really excited and begin this process on this new part of your journey. And let's see what your herb cards are. Flow. I'm going to put that right with the 6 of Vessels, where we have this waterfall flowing, and then we have the card of Progress. Whoops. I was trying to cheat. So, flow, waterfall. It's also interesting because when the river starts to melt is when its flow is at the greatest speed, right? Depending on where you live. For me, it's May and June where the river is flowing at its peak. Other people, it might be earlier, or depending on the hemisphere you might be in, you might be going into winter right now, which would be different. But you know, it's when the snow is melting. The symbolism is still the same. It's when the snow is melting, the flow rate of the river is at its highest. It's also at its most vulnerable and its most dangerous. You know, the banks of the river can collapse, it can burst its banks, it can cause flooding and all sorts of stuff. So it's like you need to be able to use the knowledge that your Crone self is providing for you, but tap into that excitement, that vulnerability, that passion that the Maiden has. So your message from your Crone self is actually, it's a very deep message, because it's saying, like, the Crone is not the ending. It is simply another means for a beginning. Sometimes throughout our life we go through different phases where we really tap into knowledge and really want to share our wisdom with other people, where we're really excited about the wisdom that we have. But then you need to take it to the next step of implement that knowledge. I really feel like that is the biggest message so far here. It's just the implementation of the knowledge that you have. It really needs to be shared, and that's how you're going to reach this pole star, this dream, is by implementing the knowledge that you have. It's one thing to just be immersed within the learning, but you need to understand how to implement it and how to take that knowledge from something within your head and make it something tangible in the world. Okay? Trust yourself, trust your intuition, and flow with that state. Okay? And then we have Buho, which is transform the way you see. I'm actually going to put that with the Six of Vessels, the reunion, because I was saying like that is reconnecting with yourself. So you're transforming the way you see yourself, transforming the way that you perceive yourself and how you perceive others to be perceiving yourself. And then we have tangibility, make your dreams real, which is literally what I was just saying. Yeah. In this Crone energy, you have the capabilities to transform who you are in the story that you're telling yourself. You have the capabilities of taking your dreams and making them a reality. Okay? So let's get a Moonology card to finish off this reading. Get a message from the Crone for those who picked pile number 1. Thank you. So we have the card of be bold and make the first move. I think that is a perfect way to sum up this reading. It's so true. Be bold and make the first move. Be that first robin who appears in the spring. Be the first trickle of the river once the snow is melted. You know, the expression of the early bird catches the worm, right? Transform the way you see yourself. If you see yourself as a procrastinator, no, you're not a procrastinator. You are someone who procrastinates, and you have the capabilities to not do that. You have the capability of taking action. You have the ability to take action. It's just you have to transform the way that you see yourself, right? You can make your dreams real, and the Crone wants you to go after your dreams. She wants you to stop making excuses and to go for it. Okay? So that is your message if you picked pile number 1 for this message from the Crone pick a card reading. Again, if you haven't seen the Maiden or the Mother version of this, they will be linked down in the description box below. If you enjoyed this reading and you want to see what I have coming up next week, a little sneak peek, that is actually a collaboration with another wonderful YouTuber. So hit that subscribe button if you want to see that. Love, light, and happiness to all of you. Have a fantastic day. Bye. Hello to all of you who picked pile number 2. So we're going to start with your tarot cards. You have the Ancestor. You have the 10 of Arrows, which is instruction. And you have the Stag. Okay. Your Crone self wants you to be confident in who you are. They want you to be confident in where you've been. Confident in yourself, in your ancestry, in your race, in your abilities, and this level of confidence of who you are will come with the knowledge that you are not perfect. It'll come with the knowledge that there's always more to learn, there's always more to do, there's always more to experience. If you think that your opinion is always right, and if you think that, you know, you can't do any wrong, like that kind of an attitude, the Crone is telling you to, you know, almost like check yourself. Because there's always more to learn, there's always more to experience. And the confidence who you are will also bring the confidence in who you are, will also bring about the confidence to admit that you were wrong, or that you have learning to do, or that you have growing to do. Okay? It's very interesting here because we have the two, well, really two stags here, but if you look on their drums, they have different symbols. We have the tree of life here, and then we have the triple spiral, which I'm blanking on what the name of that is right now, but there's the triple spiral on this. So we have the tree of life, which is setting down roots, but a tree is not afraid to change, right? The tree goes through the seasons. It goes through the spring, the summer, the autumn, and the winter. It goes through this transformation where it almost seems like it's dead, and then it starts to come back to life, right? And then we have the indication of the 3 with the spiral there. So birth, life, death. Again, this is change. And with the 10 of arrows here, we have instruction, a new generation being taught by an older generation. Whether you are feeling you have knowledge to share as the older generation, or if you feel like you have something to learn as the younger generation, it is your time to do this. But also know that we can always change places. As much as this little person here is learning how to be an archer from this older person is also potentially learning patience. They're learning charisma. They're learning like things of youth. We have almost the representation of the Crone and the Maiden here, and they are teaching each other. It's not the Crone teaching the Maiden, they're teaching each other. And you have to be confident in yourself to be able to accept that knowledge from someone else. It's the Crone energy to be wise, to be compassionate, to be confident in who you are. And part of being confident in who you are is understanding your faults, understanding what you can do to progress and become a better version of yourself. Okay? And then we have enthusiasm, which I'm going to put right here beside that 10 of instruction, because I do feel like that little person has lots of enthusiasm. And then we have the card of focus. Yeah. So again, it's focusing on yourself, but when you have, so we've got binoculars here on this card, right? So if you were, say, an archer, like in the 10 of arrows, and you were glassing the horizon with your binoculars, you still have to be aware of your surroundings, especially if you're out hunting, because not only are you hunting, but there's other animals out hunting as well, right? So while you can be focused on your task, you still have to be mindful of the rest of the environment, right? And I feel like a lot of that comes with wisdom, right? It comes with the confidence to be able to do what you like doing. It comes with the skill that perhaps you have learned from generations. You know, it's like if we have the ancestor, like what would, a lot of the times, not so much in modern day society, but it still does apply. But, you know, it's like if your father was a blacksmith, his father was a blacksmith, his father was a blacksmith, right? It's how, like, you know, you kind of focus on what you're exposed to, but there is still this entire world out there that you can experience. But if you're hyper-focused on what you know and what your family knows, then you might miss out on the other opportunities. So if you do find that you are being pulled towards another opportunity, something away from what your ancestors might have done, it may be time to branch out and become the student as opposed to the teacher. Okay? And then we have minimus, commune with the source, and samati, perfect acceptance, or perfect acceptance. Interesting how the English language works, right? So is it perfect acceptance, or is it perfect acceptance? Because one would suggest that you've already done it, and one would suggest that you're working on doing it. But with the reading, I would say that there's always ways to work on things. Never do you actually get too perfect. We are always learning, we are always growing, we are always adapting. There's the expression that perfection is the killer of good. And why can't we exist in a place of good? Why isn't good enough? It should be. Especially if good is where you've put your focus and where you've put your enthusiasm. Because if that's what you're truly enjoying, even if it's not something that you're perfect at, that is where your energy needs to live. Okay? Oh, and then we have commune with source. And I feel like commune with source is really speaking with this energy here with the stag and the ancestor. So this could be the source in terms of the universe. It could be God, whatever your ancestral heritage might believe in. It could also be connecting with your ancestors, connecting back with Mother Earth, because again, we do have the stag representation here, the representation of the earth, and that we are all connected. So it's connecting back with the source and with your source. How do you identify as the source? Okay? So let's get a Moonology card for those who picked pile number 2. A message from the Crone, please. Oh, thank you. You and your loved ones are safe. New Moon in Cancer. The first thing that popped into my head when I saw that was this instruction card, was that if you want to change your path, if you want to learn about something new, it doesn't mean that you're giving up where you are. You're just adding to your life, right? So by branching out, you're not sacrificing your safety, you're not sacrificing what you've worked hard for. You're bringing more in. And I mean, sometimes we do have to take a leap of faith. Sometimes we do have to exist in fear. Say if we're quitting a job to try something new. But instead of seeing it as a negative thing, it's about seeing it as a positive thing. Instead of seeing it as, what if this doesn't work out? What if I lose my income? What if? With negative associations. Well, what if it goes really well? What if you learn an amazing new skill? What if you get an awesome promotion? What if you get a new job, a new car, a new house, a new opportunity from this leap that you're taking, right? Trust that you and your loved ones are safe, even when you have to make hard decisions, because you're making that decisions in the best interest of you and your loved ones, okay? So that is the message from your Crone. If you want to see the Maiden and the Mother version of this Pick a Card Tarot reading, it will be linked down in the description box below. Next week, I have a collaboration with a certain other YouTuber, and I'm so excited. So if you want to stay tuned for that, you're going to have to hit the subscribe button. Love, light, and happiness to all of you. Have a fantastic day. Bye. Hello to all of you who picked pile number 3. I'm going to start with your tarot cards for this message from your Crone reading. The Ace of Stones, the Foundations of Life, the Three of Arrows, which is jealousy, and the, how do I want to put this? I'm going to put it this way. Ace of Stones, Foundations of Life, Three of Arrows, jealousy, and then the Eight of Vessels, rebirth. The Crone side of you wants you to release the jealousy, release the judgment, focus on your foundations, your strength, your capabilities, what you're deserving of, what you're worthy of. And a side note before I keep going is that all of those things, your skills, your talents, what you're worthy of, what you're deserving of, is a lot bigger than what you're giving yourself credit for. By focusing on what you are and removing the jealousy and the judgment, then you will be able to rebirth into a new energy. I feel a lot of you who picked pile number 3 are really in this jealousy and judgment cycle. And it's not even so much jealousy towards someone else. It's jealousy for what you feel you are lacking, jealousy for what you want to experience, which is ultimately coming from a place of judgment. It's being triggered by jealousy, but it's coming from a place of judgment based on you, based on your past, your story you've been telling yourself, based on a lot of fear, based on a lot of uncertainty. It's like a lot of you feel like you are not worthy of the crone energy, of calling yourself wise, of calling yourself or identifying yourself however you choose to label yourself. You might even be the type of person who has worked really, really hard academically to be able to get the titles and all the letters after your name, and you almost still don't feel worthy. And it's because of a lot of judgment that you have placed on yourself, and it's being triggered by this jealousy. So focus on you, focus on your hard work, focus on what you have done, and make it be something positive. Don't focus on what you have done from a perspective of it not being enough. Focus on what you've done from the perspective of how amazing that you have done all of these things, okay? That shift of perspective from seeing yourself through love as opposed to seeing yourself through fear is really going to allow you to rebirth and enter a new phase in your life, okay? So now we have the card of stimulate and cleanse. Another word that just popped into my head with these two cards is release. It's like if you can stimulate your senses by focusing on this energy, on this Ace of Stones, the foundations, the hard work that you've put in. If you can stimulate this aspect of your brain, if you can cleanse this aspect and release this, then this is the energy you will be stepping into. And your crone wants you to know that that energy is within you, that she is within you, right? Liberation, free yourself, yeah. And effervescence, cultivate love. Cultivate love. Yes, this is about looking at yourself, seeing yourself through a lens of love, not seeing yourself through a lens of fear. And I just realized how dark it is. We've been going through a lot of storms, a lot of rain, and it looks like another rainstorm is coming in. And that is, the reason I'm actually saying this is because it's actually very much in line with these cards, right? The rain can come in, and you can see the rain as, you know, disruptive to your schedule. You can see it as annoying. You can see it as like this negative thing, right? Or you can see the rain for the nourishment that it provides the ground, for the abundance that it provides to our lakes and our rivers and our oceans. It's a change of perspective, you know? You could hate rain or you could love rain. And what is that shift? The hate of the rain often comes from fear. Well, if it rains too much, then the rivers could flood. If it rains too much, then we could get a mudslide. If it rains too much, then the sun's not out and the plants aren't getting the nourishment from the sun that they need. Or you could see the rain with love, right? The rain is providing is providing water to the soil for the plants to grow. It is taking away the dryness in the forest that usually at this time of year are susceptible to forest fires and wildfires. And interestingly, here we have the fire on this heart, right? And then we have the indication that the rain is coming in. So it's what is the rain to you? and how can you change that perspective? And being, what is the rain to you? Meaning, what is that jealousy? What is that fear? What is that judgment that you're putting on that event, that trigger, right? Free yourself from the fear. Free yourself from the judgment. Free yourself from the negative. I mean, we all have to exist in this balance of positive and negative, right? But what we don't have to do is always give in to the negative. The negative and the darkness helps us see the light, right? So if we can appreciate that the negative is there and acknowledge that it's there, it will help us see the alternative, okay? Let's get a Moonology card for those who picked pile number 3. And it's also interesting here, we have the card of rebirth, but then we also have a skull here. And skulls are such powerful magical tools. So, you know, like you have the death of an animal creating such an enormous amount of powerful energy for someone else's magical workings. So we have a win-win situation is in the forecast. Full moon in Libra, and full moons are about release. And then we have the scales with the Libra, and this is about balance. It's balancing this positive and negative, and acknowledging. I think that's the key word there. Acknowledging where you're focusing your energy. It's okay to feel jealousy. It's okay to feel fear. It's okay to feel anger, and we're humans. We have these emotions. It's okay to feel these things. It's when we try to suppress these things, and it's when we try to just kind of brush them off and pretend they don't exist, that they kind of just build up and then kind of overwhelm us, right? It's about balancing and acknowledging these emotions and, you know, balancing when you're in a negative state, when you're in a funk, with something positive. Okay, you're having a really bad day. What is something you can do for yourself to balance this energy, right? Balance the negative and the positive energy. And I mean, the balance doesn't have to be 50-50, right? The love can be a lot heavier than the fear. But you have to admit that that fear is still there. This side of the scale is still here. Even if you're focusing on the love over here, this still exists, right? So that is your message from the Crone. If you enjoyed this reading, I hope that you will join my YouTube family by hitting the subscribe button. Next week I have an amazing collaboration coming up with a certain YouTuber. I'm so excited to be working with her on this collaboration. So hit that subscribe button if you want to see that collaboration. Love, light, and happiness to all of you. Have a fantastic day.